Hi, it's good to see you back in the course General Issues in ELT. In the last video, we have learned about direct method, a method used a lot in private language centers in Vietnam. Now, in this lesson, we will learn about another method that used to be very popular in Vietnam until recently. Now, I believe that many of you have experience with its techniques. Well, the name of this method is Audiolingual method, or ALM for short. Now, these are our key learning points. We are going to discuss the background of audiolingual method. Then we look at the main characteristics, the teaching techniques, and lastly, we will do some review quizzes. Are you ready to go? Good. Let's start. Now, the audiolingual method is also called the Army method because it was used by the American Army in World War II. Now, because Charles Fries of the University of Michigan in 1945 led the way in applying principles from structural linguistics into developing the method, so it is also referred to as the Michigan method sometimes. Now, this method is based on Skinner's behaviorism theory, and it assumes that a human being can be trained using a system of reinforcement. Now, if this idea does not ring a bell to you, please go back to the video on behaviorism in this series to review. Now, so going back, in the audiolingual method, correct behavior receives positive feedback, while errors and mistakes receive negative feedback. Now, like the other method, the audiolingual method advised that students should be taught a language directly without using the student's mother tongue to explain new words or grammar. So the emphasis is on the target language, not on the native language. The audiolingual methods were very widely used in the 1950s, 1960s. The emphasis at that time was not on understanding of words, but rather on the acquisition of structures and patterns in common everyday dialogue. Now, please have a look at this timeline of ELT. And I want you to compare grammar translation method, GTM, direct methods, DM, and audiolingual methods on the time when they were popular. Because audiolingual method is based on behaviorist psychology, it is necessary to review the following key principles that we have already discussed in our video series on behaviorism of this course. Now, to begin with, language learning is habit formation. Mistakes, bad habits should be avoided at all costs. And language skills are learned more effectively, right, if they are presented orally first and then in written form. Now, another point is that the meaning of words can be learned only in a linguistic and cultural context. Now, before we go on, I want you to read the ALM class description handout. Now, the handout is available in your website and also in your textbook. And after you have looked through the handout, please answer the following questions. How does the teacher interact with the students? How does the teacher encourage her students? What is backward build-up drill or expansion drill. And what kind of drills are mentioned in the class description? Okay, now let's return to the ALM class description handout. These are the things that I need your attention. Now, by the way, the handout is available in a website, and you can also get the handout from your textbook. Now, so number one, we see that in the class, the teacher introduces a new dialogue. So, according to audiolingual methods, language forms do not occur by themselves. They occur most naturally within a context. That's why the dialogue was used. Now, secondly, the language teacher uses only the target language in the classroom. Actions, pictures, or realias are used to give meaning. The native language and the target language have separate linguistic systems. They should be kept apart so that the student's native language interferes as little as possible with the student's attempts to acquire the target language. Now, the third point that we should pay attention to in our observation is that the language teacher introduces the dialogue by modeling it twice. Now, we see that she introduces the drills by modeling the correct answers, and at other times, she corrects mispronunciation by modeling the proper sounds in the target language. One of the major roles of the teacher is that of a model of the target language. So the teacher is a person who provides students with good samples, good models. By listening to how it is supposed to sound, by listening to the samples provided by the teacher, students should be able to mimic the model. Another important point in the class description that you should pay attention to is how the students repeat each line of the new dialogue many times. Now, so for audiolingual method, language learning is a process of habit formation. The more often something is repeated, the stronger the habit and the greater the learning. Now, the fifth point in the observation is that when the students have troubles with one of the lines in the dialogue, well, you see, the teacher uses backward build-up drill. Now, this is a very important technique. Backward build-up drills with the line. Now, it is important to prevent learners from making errors because errors lead to the formation of bad habits. When errors do occur, they should be immediately corrected by the teacher. And another important point is that the teacher says, very good, right? When the students answer correctly. Now, this is a technique that we have discussed in behaviorism. This is positive reinforcement. Well, positive reinforcement helps the students to, maintain and develop more correct habits. So, the teacher keep giving, rewards or positive responses when the students produce the language correctly. We see in the observation that the teachers also conducts transformation drills, question and answer drills. Now, each language has a finite number of patterns, and pattern practice helps students to form habits which are able to help them use the patterns correctly. So transformation drills and question answers reel and other reels are used a lot in audiolingual method in order to help the students master the language patterns. Also, in this class descriptions, you see when the students can handle the task, the teacher poses the questions to them more rapidly. The students are expected to overlearn so that they can answer questions automatically without stopping to think. Now, another interesting point from the observation is that the teacher provides students with cues or prompts. She calls on individuals, she smiles in order to encourage students. She holds up pictures one after the other. Now, the teacher should be like this in the audiolingual method. The teacher is the leader, right? The orchestra leader, the controller of the classroom. The role of the teacher is to conduct, to guide, to control the students' behavior in the tacit language. Now, there are three more points that we need to pay attention to in the description of a sample audiolingual methods you have looked at. We see that the students are given no grammar rules. So according to audiolingual method, grammatical points are taught through examples and reels. There is very little explanation of the rules. It is believed that the learning of a foreign language should be the same as the acquisition of the native language. And we do not need to memorize rules in order to use our mother tongue, right? So the rules necessary to use the tacit language could be figured out, induced from examples. So remember, this is very important. Grammar is taught, inductively, right? No explicit explanation of grammar rules. Now, we also see that the teacher does a contrasting analysis of the tacit language and the student's native language, right? Sometimes, the teacher compare the student's mother tongue with the tacit language. Now, the purpose of this is to locate the places where the teacher can anticipate the student may have troubles. And this is why a lot of teachers gets training in contrastive analysis or contrastive linguistics. The major challenge of foreign language teaching is getting students to overcome the habits of their native language. We also observe that the teacher writes the dialogue on the blackboard at the end of the week. The students do some limited written work with the dialogue and the sentence reels. Now, speech is more basic to language than written form. And the natural order of skill acquisition is, we listen, then we speak, and then we read, and write, right? So the audiolingual method try to simulate that natural order by focusing on speaking from listening and speaking first, and reading and writing is taken care of later.